Okay, I've got 7 o'clock here. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask everyone to either turn their cell phones off or place them on vibrate. And if we could all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have our public presentation. I'd like to remind anybody wanting to address the trustees this evening to please raise your hand, stand, give us your name and address, and you're allotted 3 minutes to speak. Also, once the public presentation portion of the meeting is closed, the board will not entertain questions or comments from the members of the audience unless one of the trustees asks an individual to comment. Is there anyone for public presentation this evening? Carmen, if you could please call the roll.
Okay, the last meeting we were calling the roll call wrong, so we'll start it right today. Mr. Governor?
Present.
Ms. Cartwright? Present. Mr. Maschak?
Present. Any corrections or additions to the minutes from the Parkland Workshop of March 12th, the Policies and Procedures Workshop of March 26th, and the Parkland Workshop of April 3rd? Hearing none, I would move to accept as presented. Zoning report. Any questions or comments regarding the zoning report?
Just the notation that Dave had asked about having the meeting before the May 13th, I believe it was.
Correct,
so
yeah, half hour
if we
before.
could schedule that. And I was hoping that maybe we could do it even earlier so we don't run into a problem of having not enough time. So perhaps we could check with him and see if we could do that instead, so we give ourselves a little bit of time.
Okay.
But if everybody's agreeable to that, I think it's just a matter of whether we start at 6:15 or 6:30, or 6 o'clock,
sure,
whichever.
that's fine. That's fine. Might as well just make it 6 o'clock and not push it. Any other questions or comments
So we
regarding?
will be meeting then? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
6 p.m., yeah.
All right.
And that is the 13th, correct? May 13th. Okay. Any other questions or comments regarding the zoning report?
Looks busy. A lot of things going on.
Busy's good. Hearing no other questions or comments, I would move to accept as presented. Administrator Road Superintendent report. Any questions or comments regarding Keith's report this week? Keith, I just did want to confirm with you that with respect to Western Reserve, I know that when we were in here at our last workshop meeting, we tried to get Western Reserve on the telephone. He did call back and confirm that he was not interested in...
Correct.
Okay.
He had told me twice that he was not interested in doing the brush hogging contract.
Okay.
I just wanted to bring up two quick notes for you. I was asked to check into when the bridge on Gibson Road was going to be worked on by the Turnpike. It's actually in the design phase right now, and that'll be through 2014. But they are scheduling that work to start in 2015. The second bridge that we were talking about was the Route 224 bridge. Actually, it's on the top of with the city of Canfield, where they're going to put the words Canfield in the parapet wall when they were done. The bid opening for that is going to be in October 2014. The start date is sometime in December of 2014. And the completion date will be by October 2015.
Well, Keith, if they're going to push back the Gibson Road work until 2015, how's that going to impact them finishing the road between Westbury and
Stonebridge Road?
Stonebridge? Because initially, they were going to complete that, they were going to work on that this spring, the spring of 2014, and that road was part of it.
Let me double check with them, because they were just, I got an email answer instead of a phone call back. I'll ask them again about, I believe that's Timber Run,
Yes.
to find out the completion date of that, so that way we have the second point of access.
And then I think you also need to advise the schools once we know the setup, because originally they were going to be closing down Gibson, and they were going to, for the school buses, we were going to be rerouting them for a while. So we need to make sure that's not going to happen then. Just so we keep them in the loop as well.
When I find out, I'll email the board with the information.
Thank you.
Are there any objections for me attending that seminar tomorrow on the SM4 permits?
No, I don't have
I
any
have no
objection.
objection.
I don't get a preliminary list of the seminars that the EPA offers at the beginning of the year. They just send out emails a month or two prior to the actual seminar itself. So that's why I'm kind of feeding the information to you as I get it.
Did you send us an email about that, Keith?
I believe. I can't remember. Did I have that in last month's report, or the last report too? Or was it just...
Yeah, we just don't have the times on it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 9 to 4. But depending upon how things go, the afternoon portion, I believe, is a lot of construction discussion on that, and I don't think I need to attend that portion, so...
Any other questions or comments regarding the Township Administrator's report?
Nope.
Hearing none, I would move to accept as presented. If the Fiscal Officer could give her report?
Okay, we're going to start with purchase orders, starting with blanket certificate number 38-2014 and 39-2014. You'll notice that Easton was the purchase order number 39. I had to do it as a super blanket or a regular blanket certificate because it would not let me do it as a PO. And I have no idea why. I tried several times and finally had to give up and went to a blanket certificate. So it doesn't really matter, but just wanted to point that out to you. And then we have PO starting with 13-2014 through 16-2014 for a total of $19,505.06. Then we've got electronic payments starting with 67-2014 through 86-2014. Then warrants starting with 9476 and going through 9518 for a total of $103,317.74. The only one that I'm going to have you hold back on is Sprint. I need to make some phone calls on it. It would be number 83-2014. I sent an email out. I think everyone got an email on that. I wasn't aware that that Brian did not have his cell phone from Tony. So we've been paying for that cell phone for the last 3 months, 4 months, along with additional cell phones that we thought belonged to the road department, but it appears they don't. So we need to investigate to find out what was going on with Sprint. Other than that, that's the end of my report.
Keith, are you following up with Sprint, or is Carmen, are you
I
taking
think
care of that,
I'm
or-
going to have to be the
Okay.
one to do that.
Because you've got the billing and...
Well, I'm the one holding all the passwords,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
I'll be the one doing the calling. I just needed the information confirmed, and it wasn't until, about 3 weeks ago that everyone decided to get new cell phone numbers, and that made a big difference with Sprint and being able to convert the numbers over, or port the numbers over.
Wasn't the fact that we were getting the numbers, we're changing providers as well.
We were changing, but they were being ported over. And these particular numbers, since we didn't port them over, they remained with Sprint, and no one caught on.
Any questions for Carmen regarding the financials? We'll move on to unfinished business, the Township's community park maintenance contract. And I would move to accept the best low bid for the Township Community Parks lawn mowing maintenance from Datillo and Son Landscaping for the area included in the bid package noted as Area Number 1, located on the south side of Herbert Road, at a cost of $175 per cut, and Area 2, as described in the bid package, located on the north side of Herbert Road, to the best low bid by Easton Lawn Service at a cost of $500 per cut for 2014.
Second.
Regarding the bid for the north side of Herbert Road, the Township received two identical mowing bids for Area 2 by Easton Lawn Service and Western Reserve Landscaping. Our council had advised us that in this rare situation, both parties are to be invited to witness a coin toss to determine who was awarded the bid. Upon invitation, Easton Lawn Service appeared for that coin toss. However, Western Reserve Landscaping did not. Keith received verbal confirmation twice from Western Reserve that they were withdrawing their bid. Therefore, Easton Lawn Service is awarded the Area Number 2 mowing contract. Roll call.
Mr. Governor?
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright?
Yes?
Mr. Maschak?
Yes. Mailbox damage policy.
I'll move to approve the standardization of cost associated with mailbox repair and/or replacement, and change the policy of Canfield Township to: 1. The Public Works Department will make an attempt to repair the existing mailbox with the cost of the repairs not to exceed $25. If the existing mailbox cannot be repaired, 2. The Township will replace it with a standard 4x4 post and standard mailbox with a cost not to exceed $25. In the event the homeowner wishes to replace the existing mailbox with something different, 3, once installed, the resident can submit a copy of the invoice and the Township will issue a check for $25.
Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Governor?
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright?
Yes.
Mr. Maschak?
Yes. ABC District Insurance. I'll move to pay Canfield Township's 1/3 share of insurance premium renewal for the ABC Water District in the amount of $594.66.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Just so everybody knows that it is ABC Water District is Austin Town Boardman and Canfield, and we do share jointly in the expenses, and it's divided 3 ways.
Roll call.
Mr. Governor?
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright?
Yes.
Mr. Maschak?
Yes. Moving on to new business, blanket certificates and purchase orders.
That's not the one I have.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to change the...
Okay, hold on. Let me just
That was the
go
one.
to the... For some reason, this one's coming up on mine.
Was it the last one I had sent?
Or maybe you missed something.
Hold on. Yes.
Just for the audience's information, we are going to some new technology here at the Township, and just prior to this meeting, we had a technology meeting with our advisor with respect to computers and where we're going. So we're kind of working through some of these issues right now.
Okay, thank
There
you.
you go.
You got
the
it?
new one
Okay.
out. Thanks.
All right.
I printed. You would have thought I had it.
Blanket certificates and purchase orders. I'll move to approve blanket certificate 38-2014 through blanket certificate 39-2013 and PO 16-2014 through PO 16-2014 for a total of $19,505.06 to encumber the funds of the township.
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Governor?
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright?
Yes.
Mr. Maschak?
Yes. Warrants and electronic payments?
I'll move to approve warrants number 9476 through 9518. Electronic payments 67-2014 through 86-2014, excluding 83-2014
Okay.
as general and payroll obligations of the township in the amount of, and Carmen, does that number need to change now?
I will go ahead and subtract it. I think it's $201. It's $204.23. It'll have to come off, but I'll go ahead and subtract it to make sure it's done right.
So to be 103,107
Mhm.
and change, so you'll make the final number on it. Thank you.
Second. Discussion?
Just to note that we were excluding the purchase order that the fiscal officer had asked us to
No,
do.
it's
Or, I'm sorry,
an
electronic. It was
payment.
an electronic payment of 83-2014 to Sprint.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Governor?
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright?
Yes.
Mr. Maschak?
Yes. Projector and screen?
I will move to approve the purchase of a projector and screen from Office Max at a total cost of $429.68.
Second. Discussion?
The township currently does not have a projector or a screen. I was kind of surprised to find that out when I got here. There's been safety meetings here, zoning meeting things here, and things of that nature. And we think it would be a good idea to have a simple projector with a screen. It may even work right now so you can see the agenda. The projector is compatible with the new Surface laptops and most other devices that would come in here. And it'll also have a built-in speaker. And it's especially designed for short throw distances. So as you can see the projector there, the screen's not that far. The screen itself can attach from the ceiling and hang up there, so when it's not in use, it would just go up. To my fellow trustees, I have more information here about the type of projector, if you wanted to see. I'd be glad. I know you've seen the email, but there's some particulars about it. More if you were interested. It does come with a 1-year warranty. And actually, Carmen handed me a coupon for $30 off at Office Max, so I think we would use that to save $30 on the purchase as well.
I think this was something that the prior board had done a lot of research on as well, and you know, with all the other projects, it just got put to the side. But I do think it is a good idea, and that we move forward with it. Roll call?
Mr. Governor?
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright?
Yes.
Mr. Maschak?
Yes. American Legion Post 177. I'll move to approve $1,000 as requested by Mr. Mike Kibitza, Commander of Canfield American Legion Post number 177, with to help with the cost of Memorial Day services. This warrant will be made payable to the American Legion Post 177.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Was this for the Memorial Day services? I thought it was for the wall. Or am I mistaken?
This is confusing, and I think we need to have a discussion
Okay.
on this before we vote.
Wasn't
And I think that the fiscal officer probably has the most information on it.
Yes. Is there anybody here from the war vet? The township has always given $1,000 to the war vets to cover plaques for the war wall. And in the last couple of years, we've increased it to another $1,000, but it was because we specifically requested certain plaques to include all the new trustees. And one year they had an unusual amount of casualties, so they needed more money for plaques. We've never given any money to the actual activities in the center of town. It's always been for the war plaque. When we originally started the agreement with Lou, it was specific because we had gotten an opinion from the prosecutors, and that's how they told us we had to do it. So when the original $1,000 request came through, it was for the war wall. This one I was surprised with because I just got to see the letter for the first time. I did call the gentleman that was on this list, and when I explained to him what the township does with the $1,000 we were given to Lou, he says, well, then just drop it to $500. That'll be fine. So that's why I called Marie and let her know what was going on. So I did talk to Peggy, right? Peg?
Linda.
No,
No.
Lou's.
Pam's.
Pam. And she explained to me that the only expense for this activity is $501 to cover insurance. And that is it.
Mr. Rogers, you look like you have something you'd like to contribute.
Since I've been here, we've always donated $2,000, and the American Legion and the war vet split that cost. The $1,000 was going to the war vets for activities of the day, and then the American Legion would pick up the other $1,000 to help pay for the cost of the parade, for the insurance for the parade, and I don't know what other costs go with that. Pam Speece had asked me if we could split that this year, since the war vet and the American Legion have done a split. American Legion Post is no longer working out of the War Vet Museum. They're actually using the Township Hall for their meetings now.
When I spoke to her, she told me she was unaware that the money was also supposed to be used for the war wall. That she was surprised.
Well, I think the bottom line is that we would like to continue contributing to, I think in equal portions of what we've done in the past, and
The city,
but I just want to make sure that that everybody understands, what the money's being used for.
I'm sorry, the city of Canfield is giving $900 to them for the parade, for the activities in the center.
To the American Legion.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask that we table this?
Why don't we do
and
that?
why
That
don't
sounds like
we
a good
ask-
idea, because I think that...
And let's get some further information as to what the money would actually be used for. And then we can bring it up at the next meeting, please.
Very good.
Mr. Rogers, would you please follow up on that for us? Thank you.
Moving on to the leaf spring repair.
I'll move to approve the replacement of the right front leaf spring for truck number 299 by Emch Spring Services, Inc. at a cost not to exceed $839.59.
Second.
Discussion? Keith, are we done repairing springs, do you think, this year?
I hope so.
I think all the trucks now have got all their front and rear springs replaced.
I would think yes.
You mentioned transmission problems with one of them. Is that?
That was truck 106.
And we already done that?
That was part of the invoice that you were given.
Okay.
Do we know, was it just, I know we had a number of springs that had to be repaired this year, and I know that there was multiple salt runs, and, our crew did a fantastic job on the roads, but was there something, could we have somehow been contributing to excessive wear? Other than I'm just, shooting from the hip here, Keith. Is there anything we can do about it? Or
I don't think that they were overloading the trucks. They know what the limits are to the trucks. I think it's just with the abnormal cold winter and the way the roads were heaving, and sometimes you have to drive down the road with the bed up in the air for the salt to get to the back, and you hit a couple and just rocks the load.
Well, it does appear that each of our trucks have had all their springs repaired,
That's good.
according to the spreadsheet now. Other than, I only see one repair on truck number 201, the International. Other than that, all of them have had their front and their rears
We
done.
should be in good shape then for the next 10 years.
I keep thinking it's been a long time since we've had the springs replaced.
I don't remember too many springs being broken last year.
And yeah, neither do I. That's why I asked if if it was some new phenomenon or
According to this 2009, because the aging report with the all the work that was done on the trucks, it appears that truck 296, the last time it had its done was in 2009, 2010. And looking through here, that appears to be the same for truck 299. So I'm thinking there's a pattern here, gentlemen.
Probably nothing we can do about it either.
No, probably not. They all seem to be about the same
Yeah.
life expectancy, perhaps, at least on the first couple of trucks.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Governor?
Yes.
Ms. Cartwright?
Yes.
Mr. Maschak?
Yes. Moving on to our general discussion topics for this evening. And we have a few, and I guess appropriately enough, the first one on that list is the purchase of a new truck in 2014. We have been talking about this for some time and looking at what our options are in terms of lease of the truck or purchase of a truck. And now my understanding that if the lease option has changed somewhat, Keith?
They're not offering the lease to own through the state purchase, so we'll have to find an outside vendor for that. I believe Bob did send the name of the company to the fiscal officer for review.
And I've got a call into them. I also contacted PNC, and neither company has returned calls, so I'm still waiting.
And Keith, what truck would we be replacing?
That would be 296.
Which is a 1996 Ford.
That's correct. That's the first one on the hard copy.
And that was purchased in October of 1995.
Correct.
And that's my understanding, Keith, that particular truck, 296, actually it needs some work to the bed and the plow, totaling about like $6,000,
That's correct. We
$5,900.
started compiling a list when they were doing the final cleaning of the trucks. There was holes in the bottom of the dump bed. It looks like there's excessive wear to the plow. I was given a list of a lot of things that need to be repaired on the truck. The lift pins where there's like plates where the lift pins go through are starting to oblong. There's a bunch of metal fabrication work that will be needed to get this truck back up. I think Bobby was trying to hold off on repairs of it last year with the thought that we were going to replace it last year.
I think it's going to depend on getting our financials in order as far as, I think we need to do a lease to own. I think we have to have some sort of a lease agreement as opposed to an outright purchase.
So, but from my understanding, if we can't do that through state purchase, then how is that going to be done, Carmen? Can you
We
explain
need
that?
to advertise it. We need to check Ohio Rice just to make sure, but more likely we are going to have to put it out for advertisement and let the companies, contact us as to what they have available.
Well, I think Bobby has made it pretty clear to, I think to each of us that this is a sincere need, and he's gotten, I think, from what I understand, every ounce out of the 1996 Ford, and that it behooves the township to at some point start replacing this fleet. And I think that we're kind of at the position now where we really don't have too many other options. It's equipment. Equipment gets used. Equipment needs to be replaced, and I think that's where we're at this point. I guess it's just a matter of we've already budgeted for this year.
Yes, $80,000.
$80,000, which doesn't necessarily,
If we could do it on a lease.
from the lease-to-own standpoint, I think
Well,
that's...
okay, 80,000 isn't going to buy a new truck.
I understand that, Carmen.
And we're estimating probably payments around 40,000 for X amount of years. And then we're going to have to, with the other 40,000 is going to equip the truck. So it's going to put the plows on and the lights and so forth on the truck.
And don't they want an aluminum bed, which is more expensive?
That's
Yes.
one thing that was...
Yeah, that's one of the
Last-
other things.
last a lot
By the
longer.
time we start adding that up, we definitely need to look at the financing on this because we can't purchase it outright.
We should not. I agree.
So I think that we need to do whatever needs to be done and advertise for it and see how quickly we can get it.
I think we're better off advertising because calling the banks is not working. We don't get return calls like we want them to come back right away.
Carmen, this is my first time through this, so I just want to be clear about this. So there's a state purchase where you can go and supposedly get a good deal on a truck.
When you deal with state purchase, you don't have to advertise. The advertising is already done by the
Right.
state, so
Okay.
that voids that. But whenever we go out on our own and we exceed $50,000, more likely we're going to have to advertise. There's changes all the time in the Ohio Revised Code.
Okay?
So you can't hold me to the 50,000. We can go
Right.
in now and find out it's 100,000, but
Okay.
whatever that threshold is, we have to advertise at that point.
Okay, but there's a window when the state purchase contract or closes, is that correct?
In fact, right now, the state is in the process of putting theirs together, and we'll have it by July. But if you want this truck to be in service, you need to start moving on it now, because it's going to be 9 months, between 6 to 9 months before you'll see the truck here, and then it takes another month before you'll have it equipped.
Well, I would agree, and plus the truck 296 is actually worth something at auction, I would assume.
That's how we would do it. We've
Okay.
never been successful in getting decent money on a trade. It's always been selling it outright. We take it out to the auctioneer.
So what's our step now? What are we doing?
We need to get the financing in place. I think that Mr. Burkett has already come up with what he needs. So we know what the truck's going to be. Now we just need to get the financing.
Okay.
And what's our time frame for that?
As soon as we get...
Approximately.
Yeah, because we've been calling other townships to find out
Yeah.
who they have, and we've got the two companies. The one company that did not return calls to me right away, while I was playing around on the internet, found out that they had a class action suit for messing around with leases. So that's not a good thing. So that company's pretty much out of the picture.
Well, if the lead time is 9 months for a truck and we get this, we get the financing in order and we actually make the purchase in May, that puts us into January if my calculations are right by counting my
We're
fingers
going to be
underneath the
doing
table.
some rushing if we expect that
So,
truck to be
okay.
in service.
Okay. Next general discussion topic is the update of the new potential copier in the office or copy fax data center, whatever they're calling them nowadays. Keith?
We contacted American Business Center. They are on a state purchase. The copy we're basically looking for is going to be obviously color, which will help me when I go to send in grant applications. It'll be able to print out 11 by 17s without flopping open drawers. You'll still have your legal paper in there. But it'll also fax, scan. It'll scan to file, scan to computer. And right now we're looking at a cost of $6,675. They do offer a 60-month FMV lease, which is $124 a month. They have a recommended service agreement of black and white prints at .008 cents per page and color prints at .052 per page.
So we would be leasing it at $124 a month and then...
You could lease it at $124 a month or buy it outright.
What's that per page cost? That's... Didn't you say it was, it was 8 cents?
The black and white is .008 cents per page for black and white.
.008.
That's correct.
It's going to have 2 meters on the machine. Is it going to distinguish between the two?
Yes.
Yes.
I sat in the meeting with Keith, and I was very, and actually these guys at ABC are extremely knowledgeable, and this isn't just your basic copy machine for this kind of money. This will mesh nicely with all the new technology, and yes, it distinguishes within the computer the difference between color, black and white, whether it's printing one side, whether it's duplexing. It does all of that right on board, and all that information's programmed into this. Basically, it's a computer copier, and it's got quite a computer in it.
Is it roughly the same size as what we have now, because you're limited on space?
I can't say I've actually, seen the physical. I've seen a picture of it, but I haven't seen the physical.
So I would imagine the footprint's probably similar.
Yeah, I
to
think
what
it's very similar, which we can double check that.
Keith, I still don't understand. What's that cost per page? Is that part of the maintenance? That's the maintenance estimate, or that's?
This is like a recommended service supply agreement.
Okay.
That's where that comes from. I was also looking at the fact that we can actually assign codes for each department, so we know which department's using what, and we can actually bill that department accordingly for the copies being made.
We presently have one now, and it roughly comes out to about $79 a month, and we don't have color. So this is probably very close.
Would this unit be able to do? We've talked about as far as our records retention and going from paper to electronic. Can we do scanning, and does it do high volume stuff like that, or
Yes.
can we,
Yes, once we actually get caught up or moving forward, we can actually scan the documents with this into our records retention.
Yes, we had a lengthy conversation with that. In fact, ABC brought in a rep from RICO, who they specialize in document retention. They work with a lot of different townships and such, and that's exactly what this type of equipment would be designed to do. That's correct.
Does it also have the ability where we can have codes so we can, whoever is making the copy by department, we can track
Yes.
the usage?
Yes, I did say that.
Yeah.
So each one of the trustees will have their own code: fiscal officer, administration, road department, and zoning.
Very good.
So that way the billing could be broken up between those departments.
And so I'm assuming if Bobby wanted to print, Mr. Berger wanted to print from his PC anywhere, he could print to this unit, and would that?
Not with his current PC.
Okay.
No, not
With these we could,
Yeah.
but his current PC would need some software put on it.
If he had the
Oh, okay.
Surface unit, the Office Surface unit, he could print from
I
that.
believe we were saying we could.
Yeah, you can put what's called PC Anywhere on his, and he should be able to. I don't know how old
Just-
his is, but yes, that's the idea. Or any of us could print from wherever to that as well. And ABC's, they said they would be more than glad to come in and do a demonstration for the trustees, or come to a meeting and
I would like to see
for
that.
further discussion. And I suspect they usually might even bring it and leave a demo for a week or so, so you can.
That's what I was going
Right.
to suggest, is if we couldn't have it brought in so that we have an opportunity to look at it and to utilize it, which is, I think, a good way of...
Test drive.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's a good idea.
And our current copier has no trade-in value. I've already looked into that.
When's the electronics drive?
Well, Bob might be able to make use of it.
Don't rush.
No, I think it still has some use. Yeah, I think. Carmen, how long have we had this copier up here? Do you know?
Oh, I don't think we've had it more than 8 years.
Okay.
And one thing to take in mind too, at least what I would think is, that's really the only printer that would, I think, be needed in the office, because with the size of the office, so you would save money on other printers and other toners and.
I know Dave
Things
uses
like
his
that.
own printer in the office, and
Right.
if you're printing anything
Has
that's
one in his office.
anything that's
But anything
voluminous
broken,
whatsoever,
it's been
you go through those cartridges,
I
and they're
can't print any
expensive.
color.
broken.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't.
No.
Yeah, but you can print black and white, though. You can't print the color
It
anymore.
won't print anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his is busted
Not
up.
moving at all. It's my,
So then we should declare it?
well, it's my personal,
waiting
I
till-
brought that in here. It's my personal printer, so I just get rid of it. It doesn't belong to the township. It should not be on the inventory of the township. There was an extra printer I had at home. We needed color printing here, so I brought it in.
So would you like me to schedule ABC to come in and talk to the board?
Yeah, why don't we do that? I mean, there's no, I think we're at the point where, it's something that,
Or to bring one in to demo?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, we did talk about having a workshop to talk about things like this. Is that a good time to have this man come in? We talked about record retention and having people come in.
Well, we have currently scheduled on Thursday, April the 10th, this Thursday, for record retention and technology. However, we don't really have the record retention portion of this, and I think we were going to change that to policies and procedures so we could continue working on that. So do we want to change that one?
Why don't we find out, I guess, what ABC, would be willing to do.
Were we able
Because
to
I
reach
think-
that company from Columbus that you thought might be able to come up?
Right, they're in Indianapolis right now for 4 days.
Okay.
Remember, so he hasn't gotten back to me to see, so that's part of why he didn't make it this week. So
Well,
I think what we need to do is if we could wrap technology with the copiers perhaps and how that'll interface with the record retention, that might be beneficial if we put those
makes
together.
I agree. That makes sense.
And we already know that we've only done 50 pages out of 160 pages of our policies, so we can use Thursday, because it was advertised as both,
As
to
both.
work on policies
Either
and
or.
move this particular one.
Do you think it's a good idea that, since we at least have an interest in this, ABC, I'm sure, would bring that in, since we have an interest, and leave it for, we may make the conversation easier. It's like, well, it doesn't do this, or it does this, or...
Yeah, the only thing I would say about that is I would want to give the board a little more time with these units so that we're more comfortable in that, so, and not pushing it off too far, but,
To see what the capabilities
yeah,
are.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So you think it's a good idea if they will bring one in?
I think that would be great if
Okay.
they would, sure,
All right.
if that's something that they do.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on to the Canfield Township website workshop meeting dates.
Well, Steve, can we just do a couple of technology-type
Sure.
ones and then also schedule another
Yeah.
policy and procedures? Because I think that we did 50 pages and it took us, almost 3 hours the last time? And with 160, we're probably going to need a third
Yeah.
for that. So if we use this Thursday
Mhm.
as policy and procedures, and then we set another one, and then we do a couple of technology, I think that's probably what we're going to have to look
Okay.
at.
Can we maybe schedule those on Thursday?
This Thursday's
This
already.
Thursday?
This Thursday's already
No.
scheduled.
Right, just
Schedule
take a
the
look at our...
meeting,
take a look at
everybody
that.
look at their calendars to see
Yeah.
what dates
Another
would work.
meeting. Because you already have one this Thursday.
Right, we're
correct?
going to need at least one
Okay.
more to finish the policies and
Yeah, at this
procedures.
Thursday's meeting, we'll set the
Yeah, this-
upcoming
this-
workshops.
Oh, so you're not going to do it today?
No, just not to belabor the
Okay.
issue here with... And finally, the status of Dean Hill Cemetery. It's my understanding that now all of the plots have been... We have one plot
I
remaining?
think we have
Or
3,
3 plots remaining? Okay.
unless I was misled. The cemetery rules should be here any day.
You knew I was...
Okay.
Well,
You had to look.
Gotcha.
I did talk to Karen Gaglione about it. She said she apologized. She thought she had sent it out, but she said she would get it to me in the next few days.
And I think we also need to look at getting the cemetery put on an electronic format. And I think we need, perhaps in one of our technology workshops, we can bring that into play as well, because, again, the two major things we're tasked with doing is taking care of township roads and the cemetery. So I think
Well, I
that
would-
absolutely has to be a
Yeah, I
priority.
would agree with that, but also too, and again, I'm new to the cemetery, it's my understanding there is a tract of land to the left of the drive that the township owns that needs to be plotted, Is that correct? Or am I
That's
not
what
correct?
part of the technology would do, is to take and plot it for us. We need to get all of those onto some sort of a system.
Okay, well,
And have somebody do it, and I think
well,
that's
I
why
know,
it's a
but right now,
priority.
we don't, well, it's definitely got to be a high priority, I would think, because right now, we don't have anyone to do that. We don't have, I'm just afraid someone's going to call up and want to be buried there, and we have no plots, and then we're scrambling to, bury someone. I mean, I think we're at that point.
Yeah, I mean, do we know what the proper procedure is to get those plotted out? When the last time that's been plotted, I would assume you got to call a surveyor in and they have to...
They can't do it with
Well, I think Bob, as the sexton, has some ideas.
I would think Bobby
Pardon
knows,
me?
yeah, and he's probably been...
Well, that's what we're looking
Lay
at,
it
is
out.
doing it with the GIS.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant electronically.
I think what Brian's concern is, though, is that if we use these 3 plots up in the very near term, and
Right.
then we have nothing left, and we're still, discussing the GIS system, and
Do you have that information I gave you from the conference
Is
in?
that just this past?
Yes.
I haven't gone through it.
Okay, in there is some information, and I think that's probably one way to start immediately. I think we need to get somebody in here that really does plot it electronically. I'm not sure that the way we've been doing it is the best way for us to continue doing it. But I think that it can be done quickly.
Well, how are we doing it? I mean, basically, aren't they already, they were all plotted already,
They were all
correct?
plotted.
yeah.
So now we're talking about, and it's not a
New.
huge chunk of land, right? I mean,
No.
according to Bob, it's not, he seems to think it could be plotted pretty, I'm all about the electronic, I agree with that. I'm just concerned how long that process is going to take. By the time we get someone in here, we talk to them, we decide, people are...
Well, I guess we could look at both, Brian, if you want to, talk to Bobby and see what the normal procedure in having, additional plots plotted out, and...
Why wouldn't we let Keith do that?
Or-
Because if he's
yeah,
going to do one,
sure.
he should be the one doing both of them. Talk to Bobby, see what the standard procedure is, and then see about getting somebody in that can do the GIS system. And we, again, may want to just talk to Austintown and some of the other townships and see how they're handling it currently and who they're working with. Sometimes it's not necessary to recreate
No,
the wheel.
absolutely, sure. Someone's done it in the
That's
past.
fine. One other thing, if I may.
Sure, Brian.
Okay. We did have a couple parkland rules and regulations meetings, and I know we're not done with that. And I know Keith found out a couple things in regards to talk to the District Board of Health in regards to permits and things that we need, and I think the board should be updated on that, because that's kind of important as to where we're proceeding with that, with soccer season coming up and kids being out there and such.
What I do is, did I make everybody a copy of this and put it in your mailbox? From the District Board of Health, as far as what's going to be allowed to be done in the concession building or in that area, there are different levels of license that the township would have to purchase depending upon what we're going to allow to go on in the kitchen. So if you want to have people be able to serve warm food, you have to have equipment to keep the food warm. So that's like one level of the license. If you want to be able to go in there and actually cook and prepare food, that's a higher level of license requiring more equipment. So whichever license you decide to go with, that kind of dictates what equipment goes in the kitchen.
I thought the idea was for the first year we really weren't going to be preparing food in the kitchen.
Agreed.
So I think...
What I'm saying is,
yeah.
I just found this out where before we were talking about different equipment that we could put in. That's really not the case. Whatever license that you're going to apply for, which has to be renewed every year, that tells you what you're allowed and what you're not allowed to have in the kitchen.
So if we're not preparing food there, what equipment?
Well, if you're going to allow people to sell pizza and pepperoni rolls, You have to have, well, just an
Okay.
example, yeah, they have to have a means of keeping it warm.
Sure.
So you're looking at some type of food warmer. I didn't have the opportunity to ask them if they could individually wrap the slices and put them in like a roaster. I've seen that done at the high school for basketball games. They actually cooked hot dogs on the rollers, wrapped them up in aluminum foil, and had those in a roaster. That was a couple of questions that I wanted to bring up with them after I left, and I was like, well, I forgot to do that. But that's mainly what I learned at the health department. It's kind of spelled out in the packet that I gave everybody. That's just something we have to think about.
Yeah, so the question becomes, if we get the permit that allows any group to distribute, say, pepperoni rolls wrapped up, would we have to provide the roaster, or could they provide the roaster as long as we had the permit for them to do that?
Well, I think
Maybe you don't know the answer, I don't know.
I really don't know the
Okay,
answer to
that's
that.
fine.
But I know if you're going to have a catered event there, they'll have the sternos to keep the food at a certain temperature, but if there's extra, they have to have a place to keep it warm. So whether it's an oven or if it's rather one of the stainless steel food ovens, food warmers to keep it at a certain temperature.
So even if it's catered in, you still have to have the appropriate license. So that's, Marie, that's I think we were thinking of two separate things: what was going to happen inside the kitchen and what can actually happen underneath the pavilion.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to be doing probably anything with a caterer, that's going to increase the level of risk, or what they're considering the type of license that you need. And so I don't know if that could change a lot of the discussion that we had about.
Yeah, this was just something new, and this is something we're definitely going to have to discuss a little bit further. That's one thing I found.
Do you know once you make application about how long it takes to get the permit?
I think they'll have to come out and do an inspection, and then after that, it's...
Next year.
Yes.
Next month?
Right.
All right.
And I did get some pricing on signs as well, and we can do that at the next park
Okay.
meeting.
Okay, well, I guess we have a little more homework if everyone kind of just go through this and maybe take a look and see what, just have some thoughts on that for our next.
And I guess tomorrow we need to add a park meeting
We will, yeah.
to the list.
Tomorrow, Thursday.
Thursday.
I'm sorry. Tomorrow's
Do we have
Wednesday.
anything tomorrow?
No, we don't.
Are you sure? Okay.
We started yesterday.
Yeah.
Anything else regarding the general discussion topics? Trustee comments? I would move for adjournment at 7:53 p.m. and thank everyone for coming this evening. Can I get a second for adjournment?
I'll second that adjournment.
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.
You've never seconded before.
No?
But that's okay. You can if you'd like.
I just want to make sure we were
always
leaving.
second for the,
We just called for
for
adjournment.
the Township Association.